right, here we go. It is a special Tuesday morning edition of the Nightcap, brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken. You know the drill, www.galacticfriedchicken.com. Download the app for Android, iPhone, everything Galactic. They will bring it right to your front door, pretty much anywhere inside the 275 loop. Or you can go to Dayton, Kentucky, tell them to pump it up, save yourself 15% off of your order. All right, why is it a special edition, you ask? Well, there you go. We've got a special guest, none other than the head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats, Coach Wes Miller. Morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, Chad. I'm doing great. How you doing?
Got the Jordan logo on, got the Big 12 logo on. You're hitting all the marks.
It's
all the marks today.
They're good marks. Exciting.
Let's get to it. We're not technically allowed to talk about off-season workouts because the NCAA has stupid rules. But since the end of the season, how do you feel like the program has progressed as you do head into season one in the Big 12?
Well, I feel like we've progressed. Thought we had a really good recruiting cycle in our spring recruiting. Not just in the kids that we added, but the retention that we had. And that used to be, you didn't have to talk about that kind of stuff because that was kind of expected. But in today's game, that's a big deal. So we retained really important players. So we'll have that continuity. And then I'm really proud of the additions that we've had and out of the transfer portal. So I think it's been a really good spring. We had a number of guys, Chad, that stayed here. In fact, pretty much all of our returning players spent the majority of their time from the end of the season until now here working with our strength coach, Mike Rayfeld, in the gym, working on their games. And then, we've had the ability to use some of those summer workout times. I know we can't talk specifics due to NCAA rules, but we've been able to get to work with guys. So it's been a really busy time. We haven't had a lot of any breather really from the time the season and until now, but it's been really productive.
Let's get into the newcomers, and then we'll start with the vaunted freshman class that you brought in. 3 kids that are expected to make significant impacts on the program, short-term and long-term. Your first come to the class, Rayvon Griffith, hometown kid, big smile, great energy. What's it been like getting to finally be around Ray as his head coach?
We started recruiting him literally the first week we were on the job here a couple of years ago. So I think there's been a relationship that's been built over a long period of time. There's a great foundation. So it's not like we're getting to know him now that he's on campus. We feel like we've known him for a long time. That said, it's been great seeing him every day. And you kind of mentioned it, Chad. He's special, and he fits what we're looking for in basketball players. And I'll keep it simple here. Off the court, he is a great young man, high character, great energy, all the qualities you're looking for. And then on the court, he's he's nasty. He's competitive. He's mean. And I mean those all as positive qualities. So he's kind of got that thing we're looking for, that when he steps outside the lines, he represents the university. He's fun to interact with. He's a great personality. But then on the court, he's got that nasty edge that we're looking for in competitors. And, now we get to see that. We're not surprised by that. We've known that, but we get to see that every day now, and that's been fun.
Can you see a difference in him after the prep school experience, getting to go to a place like Arizona Compass Prep and play the best of the best night in and night out on the high school scene?
Yeah, I do think, how things work out. We didn't want him to go out of Cincinnati. It was fun. Selfishly, we like being able to drive a mile down the road to Taft and watch practice or go to games. And, it was really neat to see him win a state championship here in Ohio. So we don't encourage guys to leave the area, right? Like, we want to be supportive of this area. But all that said, I think the experience was really beneficial for him and positive. He played around a bunch of other great players. So kind of learning, how to play around great talent. He improved. I think his maturity improved getting away from home for a little bit. And I think it also made him appreciate even more being back in Cincinnati. Like sometimes getting away for a year was really positive because he was so happy to come home, and he wanted to be in Cincinnati for college anyway. But I think it kind of just reiterated how special that is for him.
Edgerrin Jizzle James Jr. I've had the chance to see Jizzle at AAU events and watch him compete. What is it like coaching a running back that is playing basketball? Because he looks like what you would see on a football field out of an elite running back, just the way, obviously, the genetics have gifted him.
Well, first off, I'm going to correct you. His dad was a running back. Jizzle's a point guard.
But he's built like a running back is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm going to correct you right there because he's a basketball guy and he's a point guard. And he's, listen, he's so proud to be the son of Edgerrin James, but he's also his own man, And so, I think that's one of the special things about him. He's got a crazy chip on his shoulder, a crazy work ethic, and I think an enthusiasm to compete and play that you just feel when you watch him play basketball. Like I really think Bearcat fans will just love the way he approaches competition. Like it's infectious. But no, you're right. I mean, he's built like a truck. You look at his list of his height. I think they list him at 6'2", or we list him at 6'2", or something like that. But when you look at him on the court, you feel like he's 6'5", just because he is so well put together, so strong, so explosive. But no, there's a lot of aspects that we liked about him recruiting him. And I can tell you, we only feel stronger about all that stuff now.
How are his leadership qualities? I mean, that's, important for a point guard, especially a young guy that's coming in and you're going to expect to come in and play a lot and have the ball in his hands. How has he been on and off the court as a guy that people are kind of drawn to?
Well, we have a pretty mature team. Like I think when you look at it, I know there's some new faces, but it's not like we're young. You look across the board, we stayed old, which is really important as you look at the Big 12, which is something we looked at over a year ago when we knew this was going to happen. We had to start preparing for going into this league. You have to be old. So to go back to Jizzle, he's in his first weeks on campus. And he's around a bunch of older players with a lot of experience. Like he's not naturally walking into a leadership role. But I think what you're asking more is like, how does he lead
the qualities,
on the floor? The first thing I'll say is his work ethic is outstanding. Like it stands out. I mean, you notice every day. He's the type of guy you got to get him out of the gym. Like he does too much, right? And I think at his position, as a point guard, like that's a quality that you want. You want the players and the coaches to feel like he's working harder than anybody. I already mentioned his competitive qualities. That's really important for his leadership on the floor to be one of the most competitive guys. So no, we wouldn't have recruited anybody at the lead guard position that we didn't think had leadership qualities on the floor. He was a great leader on his high school team, his AAU team. And so we haven't seen anything different in the short time he's been here on campus. He's getting off to a good start.
Davion Day Thomas, we've seen some testing numbers that Mike has put out. A freak athlete. Give us a little bit about Day as he's come in.
Another point guard. I mean, but both him and Jizzle their ball speed stands out. Like we're obviously going to play significantly faster. I think we have a roster that's built to play at the pace that we want to play. And, you start with that position and both Day and Jizzle can play basketball at a high pace under control. So I look at both of them that way, but Day's ball speed's elite. I mean, he's so fast in the open floor, or so fast, like putting the jets on to get from point A to point B, even in the half court. Like his start stop is significant. You mentioned some of the athleticism, but both him and Jizzle can go up and finish above the rim, even for guys their size. It's pretty impressive. And then he's got the ability to get into tight spaces and make plays for others or get a difficult shot when there's nothing there at the end of the shot clock. So again, important qualities given what we've lost and where we're trying to go.
Let's go into the transfer portal hall. Always now a very important part of college basketball. You kicked it off with a guy UC fans are familiar with, and that's one of the funny things about this is that UC's played 3 of these guys. One while you weren't here, but 2 while you were last season. Jamil Reynolds from Temple. I didn't realize just how tall he was. You knew he was a large human, and he's got legitimate size at 6'11" and a really skilled guy that you can count on in the post.
I'll tell you, the transfer recruiting and the world we're in now is different. It's different than it was 3 years ago, right? Our jobs have changed in a lot of ways as college basketball coaches. And so one of the things when you're in these short recruiting time frames, like we talked about Rayvon. We recruited Rayvon for literally 2 years. You really get to know somebody's game. You get to know their character and everything in between. When you're in the transfer portal, sometimes that's very difficult because you're recruiting in a 2, 3, 4 week cycle. When you've actually played and coached against somebody and prepared for them, you get a different insight than to somebody maybe you just watched film or you saw back in high school. And so, like, one of the things that was really unique about Jamil is we've coached against him multiple years. He was at UCF 2 years ago and kicked our butts. And then we played against him this year at Temple, and he had a heck of a game here in 5th, 3rd. So we feel like we've kind of broken him down or evaluated him at a level that maybe you don't get the chance to do with most transfers. And that gave us a lot of confidence into who he is and where we think he's capable of going. But his talent, you mentioned the size, like when you see him up close in person, Chad, and I think you've seen him up close in person, or any of our fans, people won't believe how big he is. I mean, he's all of 6'11" with a much longer wingspan. I have to pull the numbers that Coach Rayfeld measured, but his standing reach, his wingspan, they're the type of numbers you see at the highest level of our game. But it's not just that impresses me. It's the way he can move. I mean, he can really run. He can really move side to side. He can really move in tight spaces and put his body on people. He can go after a ball. He has timing. Like some of the stuff that's not just the size, but the way he uses his size. We saw that firsthand. And then as we went back and really evaluated this film, we saw even more. The challenge for Jamil, and this is the fun challenge, and I think why he's here, is getting him to do those things he can do every single possession. And the first part of that is getting in shape. And I'm really proud. He got here early. The minute he could get here, he got here, got to work with Coach Rayfeld. He's made some serious improvements to his body in a short period of time. We got to get in the best shape of his life. I think we're heading that direction. And then the next thing is just me being on his behind every day to do the things that he's capable of doing every possession. Run, we've had moments where he's running the floor and you're going, man, he showed us what he can do. We got to do it every single possession. And he wants to get there and is going to allow me to coach him. And I'm really excited about it.
Another local returning home after a winding journey through his college career, but a guy that you've been really excited about, and that's CJ Fredrick from Covington Catholic. And a lot of connections, a lot of people were able to help you out in terms of getting to know what makes CJ tick. How has that transition been, getting him on campus?
It's been great. I felt a lot of familiarity with CJ because we tried to recruit him when I first got the job here 2 years ago. I mean, he was like a top priority. It felt like right when we got here, and in a short period of time, built a really good relationship with him. And so when he went in the portal, it was fun this time around because we'd already been through the recruiting process. And I think he's from Cincinnati. He grew up going to Bearcat games. He's so familiar with the university, the city, the program, that he was following it when he was at Kentucky the last couple of years from a distance, so he can see some of the improvements that we've made, and felt like this was a great fit. So it was a quick recruitment, which I loved that, because you felt like you didn't need time to evaluate him or get to know him, but it happened quickly, and it was really important to this transfer class. Everybody talks about CJ's shooting, and listen, we love the way he shoots the basketball, and he can't shoot enough for me. I think I got on him yesterday when he didn't. I'm not allowed to talk about summer practice. That's right. So
knock it off.
We'll cut
Bam.
that.
You didn't complete the thought, so you didn't.
Okay. I got to make sure we stay within the rules here. But now I think the one thing that'll happen coaching him is I'll get mad at him if he doesn't shoot the ball enough. I mean, he can't shoot it enough. But that just, the shooting is just a small part of what makes him special. He's a great defensive player. I mean, you watch his tape at Kentucky. He's reliable. He's always in the right spot. He's a great communicator. Like I'm really impressed with his growth from his time at Iowa to his time playing for Coach Cal defensively. And I give CJ a lot of credit. I give Coach Cal a lot of credit for that. He really developed as a defensive player. And then he makes great decisions with the basketball. Like he just gets it to the right guy at the right time. He gets it out of his hands at the right time. And it's something that may not be a highlight on Instagram, or might not be something that people leave the arena talking about, but it's something that makes teams better. Like the team is better when he's on the floor, and he creates shots for others by making good decisions. And then obviously the way he moves without the ball. So high IQ. I mean, we could keep going on, but yes, is he an elite shooter? Absolutely. I want him to shoot it as many times as he can get it off, but it's the other stuff that I think makes him even more special. And I don't know if he's had enough recognition for that over the years.
A guy that is given a lot of recognition for that is Simas Lukošius, who is, even though he's 6'7", 240 pounds, I think I heard, a solid physical player, but he's got the ball skills and the passing and the understanding, the offensive IQ that you're really looking for on that end of the floor. So I've been told.
It stood out to us in our recruiting of him. We just felt like we needed somebody that could play and defend multiple positions on the perimeter, that was a threat to shoot the ball as you continue to try to make sure you have enough shooting on your roster, but also could create plays for others in action. We think about how many things we did for David DeJulius in the half court, last year, over the last 2 years. And, you're losing so much of the guy that stirred the kind of the straw that stirred the drink for us in the half court with David. And so we needed we weren't trying to just replace that. We'll replace that collectively, because there's a lot of guys we could talk about that can do that. But we felt like Simas is a guy that you can run action to on the ball and that can make a play for himself and certainly make plays for others.
Aziz Bandogo, large human. Is it possible he's taller than 7'1"? Because you look at pictures and he's standing next to guys that are 6'10", and he looks like 4 inches taller than them.
He's tall, long. It's funny, him and Jamil are big boys and big in different ways, right? I mean, Jamil's wider and has a lot more size, right to left, right? He's got a huge frame. Aziz is thin, but they're both tall and long. And so again, just getting to some of the dimensions that I think we want to have in our program, we're adding to that with those guys, and the type of dimensions that can help us play the way we want to play defensively and on the boards. But both of those guys do that. But Aziz is a long, tall dude for sure.
What was it about when you played Utah Valley that, other than the fact that he basically just dominated the entire game, made you think when he hit the portal, I think that would look good in red and black?
Yeah, it's very similar. We talk about Jamil. I mean, when you can evaluate it up close, and not just because you're coaching on the floor at the floor level, but the preparation, right? The way you break down a film when you're preparing to play against somebody, you just, you learn a player in a different way than when you just start trying to recruit them. So we were blown away with him on tape. I remember watching the Colorado game in the NIT before they played us, and you're turning on, Utah Valley versus a Pac-12 team in Colorado. And after 5 or 6 minutes, I was sitting on my couch late that night. I'm calling my staff going, who the heck is this guy? Like, he's the best player on the court, and we were really impressed with him. And then, when he went to the transfer portal, it was obvious for us to start to pursue that. And I do think he fits here in a lot of ways, and same as the other guys. Like, help us keep trending in the direction that we're trying to play in terms of our style. But then he's got a great work ethic and a great way about him, and some of the character values that we're looking for in players.
I know you can't probably say a lot, but it's something fans want to know. Waiver process. Is there anything you can give people on how that works, where that's at? Is there a time frame? I know it's the NCAA, so it's kind of up to their discretion on the time frame, but do you know much that you can share?
Not really. Just that, those guys are going through that process with the NCAA, and, certainly Cincinnati, within any of the ways that we're allowed to, we're assisting that process. But, it's a lot, there's a process, there's guidelines. You can go read about them on the NCAA's website. We kind of know as much as anybody else does from that perspective, but the NCAA then will take those waivers and start reviewing them. I know they probably have waivers for other sports, so it's not just a basketball thing. But I don't have a timeline. I don't have a lot of depth into the process because technically I'm not that involved in it, right? I just get kind of updates as they come. So you guys will know something when I know something.
We got about 4 minutes left in your self-imposed time frame, so we got to rapid fire the rest of the roster.
Before, and this is what I've learned. Like, I can take it over and ask my own questions or make my own statements. But I do want to say this, and I know, listen, when you got new faces, people are curious and want to hear about them and know about them. But the returning faces have been pretty dang good too, and I don't want that to be overlooked. It's certainly not being overlooked from my seat. But I've been really impressed with the development of our returning players, and you can see the guys that have been in the program and have invested in the program, and they're excited about moving the program forward. And so all those returning guys have been pretty dang good too. And I think fans will be really excited to see those guys and let them kind of fill some of those voids of some of the guys that we've lost as we move forward as well.
All right, rapid fire. Dan Skillings.
Physically taking a step.
Looks a lot like he's filled out quite a bit.
He's not a freshman anymore. And I mean that in so many ways. I mean, and he hated when I called him a freshman all year last year. Now he'd tell you, yeah, coach, I was a freshman. I get it. I get what you're saying now, but it's just so much more mature physically on the floor. Like, just, at times he'd make some of the best plays in a game, and everybody, coaches, fans included, leave here thinking about a play or two that he made going, wow. And then at times he looked, like he was learning the college game a little bit. He doesn't look like he's still learning the college game. He looks like he's really settled in, and I'm really proud of his development. He's still got a lot of development ahead this summer. It's a huge summer for him, but he's had a terrific offseason to date.
Josh Reed.
Probably, again, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about what we've been doing, but he changed his body. I almost came back. He was gone for a couple weeks in May, and sometimes you see somebody and whether they did anything when they were home or not the first time you see him. I can't imagine anybody did more than him while he was home. It was pretty dang impressive. So he changed his body. He's always had a really good feel for how to play and what we're doing. So I think that'll only grow. And his skill set with the ball, his shooting, that looks like it's really grown as well.
Victor Locken.
Gosh, I love Victor Locken. They say coaches were not allowed to have favorites, and I don't have favorites, but I do love some Victor Locken. I love how committed he's been to being here at Cincinnati. I mean, here's a guy that's not even from this country, but he's really embraced Cincinnati as home. He works. I hope our fans realize how much time and energy he puts into trying to develop his body and his game, because I think he really wants to do it for this program and this community. He's had another, again, last year was the first year he went into a season where he'd had a off season. And I think that's why we saw some of that production improve and durability improve kind of till the end of the year. I think he's having an even better off season to date, and we're letting him step out and shoot threes. He worked it like crazy at it all year last year. I just told him maybe we're not quite ready for that yet during the season. He's been working at it all spring and so far this summer, and it'll be neat to see him stretch and start shooting the ball from the perimeter.
John Newman.
Healthy.
Always good.
Healthy and explosive. And, nobody got to see this, but his skill set had really improved going into last year. And we were really excited about that. So his skill set looks even better than it did going into last season. But also healthy and moving well, and as disruptive as ever on a basketball court defensively. And I mean that in a good way. I mean, when John Newman is out there defensively, it disrupts everything. And I mean that as a compliment. But that skill set that we saw him develop last offseason, it's good to see that it didn't just stay where it is this spring and summer. He's really worked at it, and it's getting better and better.
Odi Oguama.
I mean, again, the favorites thing. I'm going to be partial to these guys that have been with us for multiple years. And Odie's one of my favorite stories as a coach over 12 years because, here's a guy that started the season last year and probably wasn't where he wanted to be within our roster and role and all that. Didn't say boo, just kind of kept coming to work every day, kept trying to be the right kind of teammate, have the right approach. And then, I thought when we inserted him into the starting lineup, that changed our team and changed our season in a lot of ways last year. And he just has become this guy that's so reliable. He's now stepping out and shooting the ball from three. He can guard almost every position on the court. We all know about his rebounding and that type of thing. His skill set on the perimeter, making decisions with the ball, his passing, and kind of the way he gets to action. Yeah, he's been getting better since he got here. He just keeps getting better and better. So excited about him.
Last but not least, Sage Tolentino.
Yeah, people didn't get to see Sage because he redshirted last year. But from a coach's perspective, it's night and day. And I'd say the same thing like I say about Josh and Daniel. He's not a freshman anymore. He might be a redshirt freshman on paper, but he's been very effective since he got back and in much better physical condition, stronger, more explosive. And I think people will be surprised how skilled he is. He played for a great high school coach, Kevin Higgins at Hamilton High School. And, so he's skilled, knows how to play. He's taken a huge step as well.
All right. Only 2 minutes over. I only kept you 2 minutes longer than I was supposed to. So for me, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. So,
all right. Appreciate the summer update, Coach. I know you got to get back to it. A lot of recruiting coming up over the next couple of weeks for 2024 and beyond. So it was gracious of you to take a few minutes and spend some time with us today. Thank you very much.
Always happy to do it, and appreciate all you do covering our program. Looking forward to continuing to improve this summer. We've had a good summer to date.
All right, there you go, Coach Wes Miller. This is the nightcap, the morning cap, whatever it is. Brought to you by Galactic Fried Chicken, right here on BearcatJournal.com.